Welcome to Fisher Man Ministry. Today's topic, we're going to be discussing trees, all sorts of trees. But as we get into today's message, I'll start with a gentle prayer. As we gather together, let's bow our heads. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thine will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Lord, give us this day our daily bread. Forgive our debts as we forgive our debtors, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen. As we gather here today, we are going to discuss trees. Now, nature is very interesting, and nature is very biblical. Now, everything in this external world is just based off our internal world. So here we have tons and tons of trees, right? Tons and tons of trees, tons and tons of trees. Now, can anyone tell me how long it takes the average tree to grow from just a sprout? Well, it takes the average tree 15 to 20 years to mature, to actually reach its peak height. Now, one of my favorite trees is a pine tree. A pine tree starts off from the roots and it grows up. And I'm going to make it a little darker here. A pine tree grows from the roots, it grows up. And the reason why it's important to pay attention to nature and to embrace nature, because nature is just reflects back to the human being having a human experience. It just reflects back to you who and what you really are. Now, if it can take the trees, all the trees we see outside, all of these trees that are constantly around us that took over 20 and 30 years to grow. Sure, now let's compare a tree to a human being. The average human being's frontal lobe begins to fully develop at approximately 25 years old, right? Here's the catch. Here's how the human is related to the tree. Because if it takes a pine tree 25 to 30 years to mature, and all it's growing is just the form of the tree, its purpose has always been there, but it takes for the seed to be planted for it to form into a tree. And as it grows past maturity at the peak of 25 to 30 years, now it grows pine cones. Now you have tons of pine cone trees. And if you notice, the pine cones don't develop at the open of the bark. So at the beginning of the bark of the tree, when it's first sprouting out and growing and maturing, you don't see the pine cone. It's not until that tree serves its purpose and goes through all seasons, rain, snow, sunshine, and drought, until that tree goes through all of those seasons, it then matures and then it serves its purpose. It multiplies pine cones. It's fruitful and it multiplies. Now, sure, you can choose not to see all of the beauty in nature, but here we focus on the positive and we choose to see the beauty in nature because nature reflects back to us the law, the natural law. The natural law is don't beat yourself up and think you're supposed to have everything figured out. That is not even how trees themselves operate. The tree first must mature past 25 to 30 years. Look at that as a human form. We must mature. We must develop that full frontal lobe and go through all seasons and all experiences of this lifetime. That doesn't mean that your purpose hasn't been there. That means that God is forming you up to be strong. And the purpose has always been there, but He's developing the purpose. God is always developing the purpose. Just like He develops the trees, just because you don't see the pine cones yet while that tree is growing, the roots is what matters. The roots knew its purpose. The roots was formed. The roots knew that its purpose was to become a pine tree. Do you know your purpose? I challenge you to look at life from a pine tree perspective. You've gone these 25 and 30 years and you've matured. And now Your purpose is here. It's never too late to find your purpose. All you have to do is look within. Now, I pray that you understand how important it truly is to mature and to grow. It forms from a seed. From that seed, you have that sprout growing up into a tree, and that bark is developing and it's forming. The purpose has always been there, even though the pine cone does not start shouting and spreading the pine cones until it's past the 25, 30-year maturity mark. Well, that wraps up our lesson today about pine cones. Allow God to use you in all of his ways. It's his will, nothing more, nothing less. May you be fruitful, may you multiply, and may you look outside at nature and understand that every tree you see around you in your developments, in your society, all took approximately 25 to 30 years to actually grow into that tree to provide you shade and to provide you purpose. That too is you. Take care, and we'll see you next time on Fisher of Man Ministries.